I don't think I've ever really talked about VA loans and income qualifying and all of the necessary information that you as a veteran need to have in order to properly deploy your VA home loan benefits. If you are getting ready to go out there and put rounds downrange with your VA home loan benefit, you're always going to need a copy of the most recent 2 years of W-2s, all right? 2 months of bank statements and your last 2 pay stubs covering a 30-day period. 2 years of tax returns as well, all pages of those federal tax returns. Once we, as the mortgage lender, take that information from you, we're going to look at several different factors. Now, this is important for you to pay attention to because it's going to set you up for success and optimize the ability for you to be approved for that VA home loan. So let's say, for example, you're an hourly employee. Well, simply stated, we take your hourly income, assuming that you're working 40 hours a week, we take that income and we multiply it by 2,040, which is the amount of hours that you typically would work in a year. And boom, we arrive at your income and we use that for qualification purposes. You with me so far? If you're a straight salaried employee, easy. We take your income, divide it by 12, and we have arrived at your monthly income. So far, so easy, right? Now let's talk about if you're a service-connected veteran. One thing that I want all of my veterans to know and understand is that we're always going to take your VA disability and we're going to use 100% of that income towards qualification purposes. So if you're 10% all the way to 100%, that income will always be used for qualifying on a VA loan. And there's some also kind of neat things that we as mortgage lenders can do to help increase the likelihood that you will be approved for your VA loan. It's called grossing it up by 25%. So if you've got, a net VA, or I should say a non-taxable VA income, we can increase it by 25%, because how is that fair if we're qualifying a civilian using their gross income, but we have to qualify you as the veteran with your net? So this kind of levels the playing field a little bit. You guys with me so far on that? If you're an active duty service member, we're gonna use your base pay, we're going to use your BAS, and we're going to use your BAH, your basic allowance for housing, at your specific duty station for you to take advantage of that VA home loan benefit. Now, generally speaking, okay, this can vary from borrower to borrower, but the VA likes to have the debt to income ratio somewhere in the neighborhood of 41 to 45%. Now, I'm not saying that debt to income ratio can't go any higher, because in some circumstances we've seen them go all the way into the 50s. So Jimmy, what is a debt to income ratio and why is it important for you to know that when you're getting ready to qualify for a mortgage loan by way of income? The debt to income ratio is essentially a reflection of your monthly liability. So anything on your credit report, auto loans, credit cards, etc., to include the new estimated mortgage payment. So we take all of those numbers, right, and then we divide it into your monthly income. So let's say, for example, all of your liabilities added up to somewhere in the neighborhood of $2,500, which also includes your mortgage. We take that $2,500 and let's assume for a second that your monthly gross income is $5,000 a month. 50% debt to income ratio, which depending upon other factors may be acceptable for VA underwriting guidelines. Good to go? You still have to qualify by way of credit. There's other factors that are involved, but this is good general information for you to be aware of. Oh, there's one other thing. I mentioned BAH. For all of my service members that are, or I should say veterans that are receiving Montgomery GI Bill benefits, the VA does not allow us to use BAH that we're receiving for our GI Bill to qualify for a loan. Simply stated, the likelihood or continuance of income may not be there for 3 years, so therefore we can't use it. Many of you have reached out to me and you say, Jimmy, how long do I need to be on the job in order to qualify for a loan? The answer, you ready for this? 1 day. 1 day on the job. You say, the VA allows us to do something called a written verification of employment. So if you started working for a new employer and you're ready to buy a house, we can verify your income with your new employer and use it towards qualification purposes, gathering just 1 pay stub for you to obtain a VA home loan. Good to go? Now, there's a general rule of thumb right, that you have to be in the same line of work for 2 years in order to obtain a VA home loan. So for example, when I left the United States Marine Corps and I got into the mortgage business, I was required to work in the mortgage business 2 years before I could obtain a VA home loan, because I went from what many would consider to be a salary, not a very big one by the way, but a salary, into a 100% commission-based type of employment. So the VA requires that I develop a history of my earnings in order to be able to qualify and use my VA home loan benefit in the future. So I want everybody to understand that there is no minimum requirement that you have to be on the job for a minimum of 2 years in order to obtain a VA loan. It's just not true. What we are going to do, however, is take a 2-year work history for you. So for example, if an active duty service member left the Marine Corps, okay, now they went into law enforcement, they've been on the job for 6 months, well, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to use their Marine Corps service as, well, work history to tie that 2 years together, allowing them to once again properly deploy their VA home loan benefit. Good to go? So there's a lot of questions that many of you are asking, in particular with VA income qualifying, and I want you to know that it's always okay to reach out to me with all of your questions, because, well, that's what I'm here for, to help you as a veteran or active duty service member build and create wealth through the acquisition of real estate utilizing your VA home loan benefits. My name is Jimmy V, Vercellino type. If you have more questions, drop a comment down below, and I'll see you at the top. Talk to you soon.